Chapter 11 Burned into Fate. Outside the hospital room, the rain tapped gently against the windows. 3 days had passed, yet Pheej Hmoo still hadn't opened his eyes. Dr. Nrhiav quietly reviewed the chart before letting out a long sigh. Lee stood anxiously beside the hospital bed.
Dr. Nrhiav, what you Pheej Hmoo tao chi? Từ tao pe nu ne?
The doctor removed his glasses.
Cú lo cú chỉ bảo thia, để she, Tony should I cho she, dòng lý yên chỉ mua đã chỉ tao thơ. His lungs recovered from the drowning. Nilu shia lo cú thia okay thia. Bé yên qua chỉ bảo đã chỉ nợ nilu ba lư. Mua canh rau tu ni mo. Cú trâu ở trên tu kinh sư. I believe this is the case. It isn't just their body, but it's their mind. Sometimes they're unable to let go of something. So for now, the best thing you can do is stay beside him, support him.
Dr. Nrhiav quietly left the room. Lee slowly sat beside Pheej Hmoo, and across from him, Ntshiab Liag quietly held Pheej Hmoo's hand.
Lee, yawa yatia, kun tia khó tư lo, kun yin tia chi bỏ ne tun ju do.
Lee shook his head.
Cú lo chỉ bảo thia.
At that moment, the little spirit guide floated through the wall. Its tiny face looked frightened.
Yawa ya lo.
The spirit guide slowly lowered its head.
Cứ chỉ bảo khó tư Lee. Cứ nói tao hay tia, dòng Lee nu chỉ nhỏ dễ nu lưu kê là. Pheej Hmoo.
Cú chỉ bảo thia yawa li ya le. From what the doctor said, maybe he's not choosing to wake up. Thì cú muốn yom để thâu le. Cú chỉ sai tia Pheej Hmoo yo dòng Lee no.
Ntshiab Liag clenched her fist. Then she looked toward the unconscious Pheej Hmoo.
Chị tao, cú ya chi bu, Pheej Hmoo plom mu.
Chị cũng ba cũng có Txhis cũng mau ấy thanh anh sai.
Pheej Hmoo slowly opened his eyes. Everything around him was pitch black.
Khana, cú nhóc khó tư le.
There was nothing. He can't see nothing, only the sound of his own footsteps. Then, a single beam of white light pierced through the darkness. He instinctively walked toward it. As he stepped through the light, the scene in front of him changed. One candle burned beside the window. Queen Nkauj Nag sat silently beside the bed. Her eyes were empty and pale. Suddenly, another man entered the room. The king Pheej Hmoo. Pheej Hmoo suddenly froze. He looked down at his own hands and it was transparent.
Ya ô li ya le. Để nó ya. Để ta lo le lo.
Pheej Hmoo's soul had been traveling across all centuries of his memories. The king slowly approached Nkauj Nag and placed his hand on her shoulders.
Na.
She immediately shrugged him off. Cô sao nhói lên? The king lowered his head and nodded.
Tao tư có trong shit le. Cú mà li đó lo.
He quietly left the room. As the door slid shut, Pheej Hmoo's soul panicked.
To, chị tao mu. Please, don't leave her alone.
He rushed toward Nkauj Nag, kneeling beside her. Slowly, Nkauj Nag's trembling hands moved to her stomach as tears streamed down her face. Nè tụi mẹ này, con nè thật gì ô? Chả có gì, sẽ phải lo. Chỉ chả có thế, con nè ổn đây. Em có thế lý, chỉ muốn cho xuyên ra cùng nhau. Pheej Hmoo broke down. He reached toward her.
Yawa cha tia. Cú. Chinga shia. Na. Cú thọ gì à?
His fingers passed through her face, unable to even wipe away a single tear. He slowly moved his hand toward her stomach.
Chị thọ gì à? Chị tụi mi à?
When the light faded, Pheej Hmoo found himself standing in the middle of a palace corridor. Footsteps echoed through the hall. He turned around and Gona hurried past him. Her face was filled with panic as though she were desperately searching for someone. Pheej Hmoo instinctively ran after her. The two hurried through the palace until they finally reached the prison. There seems to be no guards in sight. It's completely empty and quiet outside the prison. Just as Nkauj pushed open the prison door, a figure suddenly burst out from the inside. The person slammed into Nkauj, knocking her hard onto the ground before sprinting away. Nkauj looked up in shock. Ntshiab Liag! Her voice echoed throughout the prison, but Ntshiab Liag didn't even look back. Her eyes were lifeless. Her expression was cold and empty, as though she had completely lost herself. She disappeared into the darkness. Nkauj slowly climbed to her feet. Something wasn't right. She looked toward the prison cell that was supposed to be holding Ntshiab Liag. The door stood wide open. Then she noticed another figure running in the opposite direction. Without hesitation, she chased after the figure. After several turns, she finally caught up and tackled the person to the ground. Nkauj froze. The servant belonged to her own mother. Nkauj eyes widened. Pheej Hmoo stood frozen. His mind raced with confusion. He silently followed them from behind. Moments later, they arrived outside Queen Mother's palace. The moment the mother saw her servant being dragged inside, the color drained from her face. Nkauj stared directly into her mother's eyes. Cô nói sợ hai tia, chế lệ tôi nên cho hình lì. Cô chính chính lời, ta chỉ ở nhà nó, cô bỏ kiện cô không một lời, nữ, trong tàu chờ hình lì, cô tôi ở lối chỉ tàu lời. Nè, ở nhà cô tuần sai chi, họ yêu tụ tròn chế lệ tàu chế lo chịu, chỉ cháu khi cô tia, cô yêu tụ ở cho đã tròn chế lệ. Silence filled the room. Then her mother slowly smiled a cold smile.
Chị Wally chả, có chỉ trong xe hải tiề, nè bác có lo, có tin dù chế là con gấu này, nè tụ ở chính thôi ăn được có, nè có bao kinh chỉ xe, ăn chế là tụ ở trong nè tụ mình xài sự.
Nkauj lowered her head. Cô yên dù nữ, dù khó ở, phải mong lâu nữ cha cô. Cô dù khó ở giờ cô yếu ở trong bảo lý cha lo, nè chỉ tì là trái cuối mà. Muốn đâu rào. Cô tư xa còn chế lia, plon để luôn để tế nó mù ta xì. Nú nó, cô mà bảo cô nè. Chị tin chế lia, nếu những chị tao ở đã chị chào. Cô ở đâu cô mò xe, rồi yêu cô kia, phải mong ở đâu cô. Cô, rồi ở đâu cô tôi kinh sư. Her mother scoffed.
Cha, có yêu chùa luôn à? Có trình nhông sư, tụi nên tao xe lên đó thế lo.
Cô chùa vì hai tia, cô nên nấu ra cho cô tôi khen. Cô chùa vì hai tia cô chỉ chơi, lúc cô tôi khen, ta xì. Chỉ nóng nóng mù. Cô chỉ xa, ôi tôi nên sống lên nóng muốn gì lời. Cô chỉ xa, cha cô cho cái khí, ôi cho cô thai, lỗi tôi nên, ôi mà lúc xế lý hả. Before Queen Mother could answer, the palace doors burst open. A terrified servant rushed inside.
Nè hóa tài chỉ tao lời, bây giờ hóa tài trong chế lệ to lời.
Nkauj entire body froze. Her mother's heart dropped.
Hả? Có hay đã chị? Yêu Wally chả cho bây giờ hóa tài lời nó.
Chế lệ mu ta hóa chỉ hóa tài kia, kia limone to lời.
Her mother stumbled backward before falling onto the floor. Nè, cái đó cô ta xin nó, có cho đã lấy giả rong chế lệ, rồi chua.
Cô muốn thế, ít gì nên ở cả công trâu, ít tu trong mà. No, cô tua chúa cô mua tu trong hắn đợi một phòng, để trốn đồng tàu ăn chế là khỏi theo bự.
Nkauj eyes widened. Tu cho. At that very moment, soldiers rushed into the room. Chỉ sáu chia của nhà tờ họ hông đâu mù. Yêu linh tư trần cho nữ đi thế, lúc gì tôi ở trong nữ, buông gà xìa. The soldiers surrounded the room. Gona's mother crawled desperately toward the doorway. But she never looked back as she stepped outside.
Nè, giờ yếm mua đã chỉ chỉ thọ được cô cả, cô thọ cô. Chứ lẽ, thọ có tỏ, chứ có tụ khen của yếu bác cô.
Pheej Hmoo found himself this time beneath the ancient tree. Gona was on her knees, digging frantically into the earth with a small shovel and her hands. Mud covered her clothes, and her fingernails were even bleeding.
Cô yếu chun thea có tao họ không đá nó, chỉ linh chế lệ yếu chú tua, chế lệ, chỉ sao trở lại nhà nữa, cô yếu chú bác có tao có. Ôi ya thôi ya, họ dùng linh nó lên à. Ôi xem này toàn chế lệ.
Pheej Hmoo slowly knelt beside her.
Nà, cha có yếu trụ ô lùa.
He finally understood. She wasn't trying to curse Jelia. She was trying to save her. Suddenly, her finger struck something.
Con chế tao lệ.
She pulled the straw doll from the ground. A smile finally appeared across her face. But when she turned around, King Pheej Hmoo stood only a few steps away. The smile disappeared and neither of them spoke.
Nà, có ta tỏ ô ra chi. Yếu có lọ. Có yếu tụ ua, có công đồ chế lệ lọ.
Gona instinctively hit the doll behind her and nervously spoke.
Chị yêu cô.
Pheej Hmoo slowly walked closer. His voice trembled, and he quickly reached behind her and grabbed the cursed doll.
Con tỏ nó yếu ra chi nó. Chỉ yếu có chê, yếu lên từ.
Gona narrowed her eyes.
Chị yêu cô nà, Pheej Hmoo.
Chỉ yếu có. Ở chạy từ trong mà, họ nhóm đã có sát tệ. Nà, cũng chân sĩ tao tìa, có lưu xe yếu lý hiệt tam bộ có ý tử chỉ yếu tụ nên dông lên nó xá.
Gona suddenly laughed, a broken laugh, half crying, half furious.
Cô yo vì cô thấy lấy lỏng tôi nên xong lên nó có bộ báo hay tiền cô lúc có bảo lý trả có bộ báo hay tiền cô lúc có mua bóng bảo lý trả cho cô thế á có bộ báo hay tiền cô nên mà tỏ có cho cái luật sư
Tôi nên cứ lúc cha để tôi tổ một lời.
Pheej Hmoo slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the king in him had returned. He raised his hand.
Cho tôi cho, muốn này hoa tài ngon nàn đề, muốn nói cho muốn cho cha cho gì.
The soldiers rushed into the courtyard immediately. Then they hesitated. No one dared to touch their queen.
Thế tớ cô ló, dọn lên từ chịu ột cho cô hài, lúc gì tua, yếu trời nữa thea.
As the soldiers escorted Gona away, the palace courtyard suddenly fell silent. Pheej Hmoo's soul stood frozen. He watched Gona disappear into the distance. Then his legs finally gave out beneath him. He fell down onto the cold stone floor. His fist pounded against his own chest as tears poured uncontrollably down his face.
Chỉ hoa tài Pheej Hmoo, chỉ có yếu chỗ lô li. Chị cha cô yếu chỗ lô li, yếu cô bố khó chính, yếu cùng lòng con nà ý cho sư, yếu cô trên con nà, đây rồi thôi à yếu chỉ trong li nó, nà, cô thọ gì cô thọ gì.
Pheej Hmoo found himself standing outside a prison cell. The cold stone walls echoed with distant screams. Inside the cell sat Gona's mother. Her once elegant appearance had vanished. She rocked herself back and forth while constantly looking around in terror, as though someone invisible surrounded her. The moment she noticed King Pheej Hmoo standing outside the prison bars, she immediately crawled toward him on her knees.
Cô tụi mày nữ, ya có lo. Cô thọ gì hả? À! Cô thọ gì hả? 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 Cô thọ gì h
Pheej Hmoo looked around. Dozens, no, hundreds of restless souls filled the prison. Every innocent person who had died because of jealous curse now surrounded the mother. Some clawed at her arms, others pulled her hair. Some whispered into her ears, others tried to drag her. Yet none of the prison guards saw a single one of them. Only King Pheej Hmoo and Pheej Hmoo could see the horrifying punishment.
Cho cú thọ này cho cú mù.
King Pheej Hmoo slowly closed his eyes. His face showed neither anger nor satisfaction, only exhaustion.
Nè, vì có lúc xe lì hìa, có cho đá, trốn xe lìa, ô cho cụ chỉ hỗ tài tua, ô cho ít bộ tử tụ tí nền tua, thia, ô trong câu nà, chỉ lúc chỉ, ô chỉ yo nữ ua, cụ yếu chỉ tua co, xin hú nọ mù, có yo nhỏ, cho chọn chút bì, ô có chỉ có nu, ô có cho xe tu.
King Pheej Hmoo slowly turned and walked away. Behind him, Gona's mother's screams echoed endlessly through the prison.
Cho cú mù, cú thọ này
Everything changed once again. This time, Pheej Hmoo stood inside a quiet bedroom. Only a single candle burned beside the bed. King Pheej Hmoo lay beneath a blanket. His face had become pale. His breathing was weak. Each breath sounded heavier than the last. Pheej Hmoo slowly walked closer. The king stared at the flickering candle.
Câu na, đây là câu hai lời. Chế cụ yo nhau chỉ cho, nên có ý chồng. Cụ tư nó cụ lú so, tư tao dù lợi. Kia cụ mà lý bao cho kế khẩu. Ô cụ tao ô tô có. Giờ có yếu chỉ, cụ chờ tiền lọ, cụ yên cho xe lọ. Thảo cho tờ lời có. Mong bố lý chả. Kia cụ mà chờ có khá lên tờ thịa.
Pheej Hmoo eyes widened. The king slowly reached toward the candle. His hand never trembled. There was no fear in his own eyes, only acceptance. He lifted the candle, then touched the flame to the edge of the blanket. The fire spread slowly at first, then faster. Pheej Hmoo fell to his knees as the palace disappeared beneath the flames. Then darkness swallowed everything again. Suddenly, hundreds of memories exploded through his mind like fragments of shattered glass. One lifetime after another and another. Again and again, he watched himself die. As a farmer, a merchant, a scholar, a soldier, every lifetime ended the same way. His body was weakened by an illness, then days later, a fire. His death repeated again and again, 9 lifetimes, 9 fires, until finally the memory slowed down. It's year 1926. In a small wooden house, 21-year-old Pheej Hmoo sat weakly at a desk. His face was pale and his breathing was shallow. Every few moments, he coughed violently. Cancer, he already knew. His time was running out. He slowly closed the journal he had just finished writing something in. Holding it against his chest, he began chanting an ancient blessing. The golden spiritual energy flowed from his fingertips into the leather cover. A protection spell. A spell that would preserve the journal no matter what happened. He smiled faintly, then spoke to someone who had not yet been born.
Cụ tù mò cancer, yo chỉ cho cụ chê. Cụ bỏ tao lý thâu lời. Tiền tổng tay nó, Pheej Hmoo. Cụ sẽ có một bệnh sử. Lần trở tao cho kiếm bà, cái khẩu. Có tao ở trong con nà. Vì hai tiền này chỉ ở tụi tuan chỉ lìa. Nhưng chú tao ở đã chỉ chỗ đâu yên lên từ.
He gently placed the journal inside a wooden chest, then reached inside the wall. A bottle of lamp oil. Without hesitation, he poured it across the floor, onto the curtains, then the furniture. He struck a match and smiled sadly.
Cụ thọ gì? Nkauj
The match slipped from his fingers. Fire erupted through the room. Pheej Hmoo's soul stood frozen, watching himself burn alive again. Only then did the truth finally strike him. Every lifetime, every fire had never been an accident. He had chosen them every single time, unable to live with the guilt of believing he had failed. Nkauj Nag, he had ended his own life again and again. Darkness swallowed everything. Then a familiar voice drifted through the void. Pheej Hmoo. From the darkness, Nkauj Nag emerged. She stopped only a few steps away. Their eyes met, and his vision blurred with tears. Nkauj Nag slowly extended her hand. Pheej Hmoo, có một dấu xuyên đó của mù. Pheej Hmoo stared blankly at her outstretched hand. His eyes slowly lost their light, as though something inside him had broken. He nodded.
Cứ cho xia út trở lý có cho kiến chờ nà.
A faint smile appeared on Nkauj Nag's face. She gently took his hand. Without another word, she led him into the darkness, one step, then another, until both of them disappeared completely. Chapter 12. Bound by Regret. It's Saturday, 6 a.m. Morning mist still clung to the hills surrounding Lee's home. The smell of the fresh dew mixed with the smoke of burning incense drifted from the inside. Today was the day of the shaman ritual. One by one, Lee and Pheej Hmoo's closest friends arrived to help prepare for the ritual. The front door opened. Guy, Lee's younger brother, stepped inside, still rubbing his eyes and yawning.
Otya kuyongeng olali. Lee, you owe me one for this ritual. Kabo pa tia no no ya no only day o kutap shwasuna.
Ê, của bó mà, you're the best. Của mà cho con món nó phải ta kỳ.
Okay, có hay là nè.
Just then, another friend poked his head through the kitchen doorway, carrying a large wooden cutting board in one hand and a butcher knife in the other.
Lee, iple ka sa ka pe mo tu new kwa li kya no.
Mo lại là thế mo cho bó cha cho mù hoa phở. Bây giờ dùng gì xí mà. Vì giờ bây giờ luôn nọ xí nè.
The man continued preparing food while others arranged ritual offerings inside the room. 3 bowls of uncooked rice, fresh eggs, bundles of incense, and ritual money paper. Everything had been carefully placed according to the tradition. At the center of the room stood one ritual wooden bench. Lee looked toward Nrhiav.
Okay, get ready to launch Lia.
I'll see you on the other side.
Lee gave her a reassuring smile. Before either of them could sit, a cheerful little voice echoed through the room.
Cứ thế à?
Lee patted Pheej Hmoo's little spirit guide head.
Okay, let's do this.
He slowly sat on the ritual bench and wrapped the red ceremonial cloth over his eyes until the outside world disappeared. Then he grabbed his monk bells next to him. Across from him, Guy picked up the ritual gong. The deep rhythm echoed through every corner of the house. Each strike sounded like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Lee took one slow breath. His body remained perfectly still on the bench, but his soul rose from within him. Like mist separating from the water, he slowly opened his eyes. He's no longer sitting inside his living room, but sitting on a magnificent white horse flying in the clouds. Lee gently placed a hand on its neck. A low roar echoed across the heaven. From the clouds descended his spirit guide, a white dragon. Its scales reflected every color of the night sky as it coiled gracefully beside him. Moments later, another familiar presence appeared. Pheej Hmoo's little spirit guide floated toward them, happily ringing the tiny bells tied around her wrists. Then, Nrhiav emerged from a curtain of silver mist. Lee smirked as he seized the divine Nrhiav. He patted the seat on the horse behind him.
Dòng tao nó, cho kể giờ để hình, của yên bao, ít là của nó cái gì chứ bóp ta.
What's your
She floated to sit on the horse beside him. The little spirit guide floated onto the dragon's head, swinging her legs happily. Lee looked toward everyone.
Chờ đợi ba chỉ lời lo,
Nrhiav nodded.
lo bé một cho phê mông cho cá lo, của tụi mẹ ra, phê mông tụi con này, cho bé kể.
The horse reared onto its hind legs, then leaped into the clouds. Below them, thousands of mountains stretched endlessly into the horizon. Ancient forests glowed with spiritual energy. Rivers shimmered like liquid glass. Gigantic spirit beasts wandered silently through the valleys. Some bowed respectfully as the white dragon passed. Others hid within the clouds.
Cù mùn yi thông chúa lưu trong yi lưu hạ thông chúa chia chang cù ya li yang mu trong cho kỳ khao li so bùa son trong đón thế bùa nia bùa tí can du lo cù yang chỉ sử dụng yi kia li.
The further they traveled, the quieter everything became. Even the wind disappeared. Lee's horse suddenly stopped as they landed in a dark forest. The white dragon lowered its body. Lee slowly raised a hand. Everyone froze. Lee narrowed his eyes.
Có bọn nó ý đó chị.
Nrhiav listened carefully. A deep growl rolled across the mountains. The white dragon locked its golden eyes into the darkness ahead. Lee slowly drew his ritual sword.
Ồ, của chị ninh ba mình nét tiền hết lâu, cho mẹ phô ninh khó chị thô lòn chạy lọ thái. Chế mình chú đua phê mông, lòn chế mình chú bì phê mông, giờ con nó của chị ninh lưu xua chế lọ tên đà. Giờ nó của chị ninh lưu dạo lọ chữ kia.
The little spirit guide floated closer to Nrhiav. From within the cave, two enormous crimson eyes opened. Their heavy footsteps shook the earth. An enormous beast emerged. Its body resembled a giant gorilla, but its arms were unnaturally long, dragging across the ground. The black spiritual mist poured from its mouth with every breath. It started beating its chest as the mountain trembled around it. Lee calmly pointed his sword forward.
Ồ, cho giờ cho kế lòn chế mình chú đua sư chỉ giờ bê lòn chế kế blog in tù, chỉ cho là thái cú kế.
The beast let out another deafening roar. Then, four more monsters stepped behind it, each larger than the last. Their eyes glowed with hatred. The little spirit guide floated in front of Lee.
Chị cho trai, Lee, we got your back. Hình tiệc với yo. She will shake.
Lee closed his eyes briefly. His lips began chanting something. Golden runes ignited along the blade of his sword. The white dragon roared to the sky. Lee charged first, then the dragon dove back down. Nrhiav drew her spiritual blade. The little spirit guide laughed excitedly before charging straight toward one of the monsters.
Hình tiệc chỉ xa của luôn đi sao.
Nrhiav leaped through the air, her sword slicing through every waves of dark energy. One monster fell, then another, where more spirits continued to crawl from the cave. Lee then spun his sword. A circle of golden light burst outward. The remaining evil spirits screamed before dissolving into ashes. Everyone stood breathing heavily. Then the silence finally returned. The dragon slowly lowered its head. Its eyes looked beyond the battlefield. Lee followed its gaze, and far beyond the mountain, an enormous black tree rose into the clouds. Its branches pierced through the sky. The dark mist coiled around its roots like living serpents. Thousands of whispering souls circled around the trunk. Nrhiav's face lost all color.
Chọn đông đầu.
The tree of regret.
Before anyone could move, A soft humming drifted through the mist. It's gentle, lonely, filled with endless sorrow. The fog slowly parted, and there, beneath the ancient tree, sat Gona. She gently cradled Pheej Hmoo's head upon her lap. Slowly, she brushed her fingers through his hair, as though she wished the time would never move again. Pheej Hmoo's eyes remained empty. His expression is peaceful, almost happy. Ntshiab Liag's heart shattered.
Pheej Hmoo.
The little spirit guide rushed forward,
Pheej Hmoo, cấp bà nó cô.
but he never reacted. His eyes remained fixed on nothing. He could no longer hear the voices of anyone other than Gona. Gona slowly lifted her head. When her eyes met Ntshiab Liag's, the warmth vanished and hatred flooded her face.
Ntshiab Liag, khó tay mình đã có thể cứu từ sau lòng đấy lời. Ôi chà, có chỉ mua bình sự trở cứu tốt cho nó thế.
Ntshiab Liag slowly stepped forward.
Na, cô yên chỉ xa bỏ có lòng muối tôi đã trong lý nó. Có tới trâu kể cho nhẹ để thâu lợ. Cho Pheej Hmoo có thiết đi cho kể chỉ cho nó.
Đi, cô tới chỉ xa đi lời. Cô chua sẵn đâu nên nhỏ lên nó mua sư.
Lee stepped forward. His voice echoed across the valley.
Cậu nà, có tua chậu cho cha sống đủ lời. Nụ nào cũng chỉ nên tua cho có cho một hẹp lâu.
Gona slowly stood up while still holding onto Pheej Hmoo's hand. Lee removed a small bronze shaman ring from his finger. He whispered something into it, then threw it into the air. The ring spun rapidly, growing larger and larger until it became a massive circle of glowing golden light. The ring shot toward Gona. Golden chains erupted from its edges, wrapping tightly around her body. Gona struggled violently.
Cho cô.
Dark spiritual energy exploded in every direction. The tree of regret trembled. The sky cracked open. A pillar of golden light descended from the heavens. The entire valley then disappeared. In an instant, everyone stood inside the celestial court. Ancient pillars stretched endlessly toward the sky. The clouds drifted beneath their feet. Only then, Pheej Hmoo slowly opened his eyes. His vision slowly came into focus. He looked around in confusion. Lee, Ntshiab Liag, his little spirit guide. Then, his eyes found Gona.
Na!
He dropped to his knees beside her, gently supporting her shoulders. Then, he looked toward Lee.
Lee, thọ có thọ vào chỉ tôn na. Thôi à nó, cô yên cho share what the link con nát cho kiến chơi.
Lee sighed softly.
Cô yêu我出以後嗰碌平時落班呢零。Jane cô, okay?
Suddenly, a thunderous voice echoed across the celestial court.
Gona, Pheej Hmoo.
The clouds trembled. Every heavenly spirit lowered their heads. The judge slowly opened her eyes.
Gona, có bộ bao tia, có tổ ra chỉ thảo.
Gona slowly lifted her head. Her eyes burned with resentment.
Cô, dạo nó lớn tu mà li mua không mua lời lo.
The judge answered calmly.
Gona, lương tư sinh rộng, tôi yêu câu tôi yêu bị bỏ tia, có tôi yêu chỉ nhanh nhanh. Bị thế lý kia có phòng Pheej Hmoo trời lý có cho kiến chơi. Thế thì, cho cái khẩu nhưng yêu chúng một cho cái sao. Có muốn chăn thôi là.
Cô cha li cha, cô chào họ tử. Pheej Hmoo yêu tử rong xía lo ở đó cô sa. Cô cha chỉ tao muốn lo khi ni cha đã. Bây giờ Pheej Hmoo.
Dạ.
Pheej Hmoo, thọ con cho trong tia, giờ có sao tia con nói yêu à yêu. Giờ cho yêu ít tia thôi ít tia. Thế thì, nếu yên được tôi giờ tới mình lì. Để tôi lo có yên yêu chủ trong lịch cố sư. Nếu ông lúc xưa yêu cho mỏ đồ. Giờ có yêu chơi tia lo, yêu chỉ đợi cho cái khẩu nó. Nếu yêu chỉ chờ một lý thua tu xa.
Yo, yo chơi lý khó lý hay. Giờ yo chơi tia lo, để đến này sẽ yo tao chạy lo yo trong lý khó vì hay tia. Giờ cái khí cái khẩu nó chỉ chơi tu lý. Yo linh tới, đến thâu cho tia lo lại. Tia cầu nó, bây giờ là sẽ hay cả ta nên là đến thua nó.
Gona slowly clenched her fist. Pheej Hmoo then gently placed his hand on her head and patted.
Cô tu mi muốn na. Tao ở bên hôn nó, Cú san trong cho họ cú Lucia hai tia. Cú yo ua cha. Cú thiam lý tao có Lucia. Cú in cho xia là mà. Yo có yo cả cú tua. Cú mu cha ít bộ xe dầu. Lo cú in cho xia. Cú lo tao cú tua cho tia. Đi xí cú bỏ hai tia mà có Lucia hình. Cú in chỉ xa. Cả có đó chỉ cho có tụ khen lên nó mù li. Giờ tia lòng tao. Có bà cả chia cú lúc có. Cho tia tận tên nó. Bốc họ có lúc cú. Chỉ có mà lo ua cú mềm lông xia. Chỉ cú lông blờ. Ê chỉ cú mà lúc có chat thôi à.
Gona's eyes slowly softened. Tu mua Gona. It had been over 100,000 years since anyone had called her that. The hatred she had carried for countless lifetimes finally began to crack.
Pheej Hmoo. Cô nghe hình lý lỡ. Ôi cha, cô sao khó tư. Ê cô lúc xế Pheej đâu chỉ cho ya chỉ cô xí. Ý lên từ tư lý. Cô chỉ xa nó, chỉ xa bọn gì lời. Thế ya, ôi cho cô trong xế là sư.
She broke down in tears. For the first time, she wasn't crying from hatred. She was crying because she finally allowed herself to let go.
Cô thọ gì không biết sẽ đợi chính cả sẽ có nà. Yêu ở tao, cô thọ có cho tụi lũ tao có. Trở lý khó ở chỉ nhá đâu có.
Nà, Pheej Hmoo tư lệnh lưu lời. Thọ có cho nè. Chế lìa, họ nói chỉ phình chùa cho ư. Lòng đời nó.
Everyone held their breaths as they waited impatiently for heaven to reply. The heavenly court fell silent. Suddenly, the verdict has begun to be read.
Cô nè, cú chỉ kia thôi giả một trời khó có hay có. Vì hai tia rồi nó, Pheej Hmoo lo lành tia nị yo lo ở bao, cho cái khẩu ở nị tao ở đâu có. Riêng tao là hai tia, Pheej Hmoo yo nị cho lù, yo chỉ bút thịt đó cả nè. Nè sẽ đâu, thịt đó cả.
The sacred Mongol echoed across the heavens. Golden light engulfed the courtroom. Lee, Ntshiab, the little spirit guide, and Pheej Hmoo's soul were all pulled back toward the living world. Inside the hospital, Pheej Hmoo's eyelids slowly flutter open. Bright white lights blurred above him. Then, a familiar voice called out.
Pheej Hmoo.
He slowly turned his head, and standing beside the window, bathed in the afternoon sunlight, was Ntshiab. Her eyes shimmered in tears.
Welcome back.
Pheej Hmoo immediately sat up despite the pain without saying a word. He wrapped his arms tightly around her, as though afraid she would disappear if he let go.
Ô cho có cho cụ cho cá lo. Ô cho thôi à. Cụ tự mình nông so.
Ntshiab blinked. She looked at him in surprise. Pheej Hmoo smiled through the tears.
Cụ cho thôi à lời.
Ntshiab lowered her head.
Pheej Hmoo. Chia cô thọ gì rèn được con. Cũng trai cho thọ có bảo thôi à. Có yếu đó mò xia đồ cú.
Pheej Hmoo gently shook his head.
Cụ bảo mà. Con gái sẽ có.
For a long while, neither of them spoke. Only tears answered for them. The hospital door slowly opened. Lee stepped inside, carrying a bag of small fruit, wearing his officer uniform.
Dùng lại bê tụ phê sợ cho cá lò lửa xa.
Pheej Hmoo laughed, then opened both arms.
Officer Lee.
Lee chuckled before walking over. The two embraced like brothers who had just survived a war. Lee then pat Pheej Hmoo in the head.
Xin lỗi mù, có yếu dùng lửa mà.
Pheej Hmoo smiled.
Lee, ô cho. Có thiên chứ lìa. Nhi ở cụ ó tù ninh chứ sinh. Tụi mình nhỏ con nên có thế mà.
Chapter 13. The Last Knot. The scent of incense drifted through Lee's house. 3 cups of tea rested upon the altar. Pheej Hmoo knelt respectfully before Lee.
Lee, cô thọ co, ô cô tu si phu.
Lee smiled.
Tao cơ, ta shi, chỉ bố tung kinh, cô yo nhau hình nữ.
Tao cơ, si phu.
Ntshiab stood behind them, giving both men 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. That evening, the 3 friends sat together in Lee's backyard. Bowls of melting ice cream rested in their hands. Above them, the sun is starting to set. For the first time, everything felt peaceful. There was no ghosts, no curses, no fear, only friendship. Nrhiav froze. The bells at her waist began ringing by themselves, not gently but urgently. Her smile slowly faded. She lowered her head.
Nrhiav, yo ô cha.
She looked toward the sky.
Pheej Hmoo, Lee, Jong Lee, sao cứ lúc hờ lờ. Nế lo yên yo chỉ nên thea, nế yên bảo tia kế tuần nên, ya lúc chỉ lo chấp lờ. Vì tia ta lo, của tuần nên chống hành, tia shi, vì chỉ yo của thọ tử, lời theo múa của cháu chỉ với tu đá sâu xe, tao với bộ thiết hiong, rồi nó của nhớ ta của lúc chỉ lờ, của yo chưa tao dài.
Pheej Hmoo looked at Nrhiav. Unable to cross the line between them, he reached to stop her bells from ringing.
Nrhiav, cô cho. Ở có chuyện lưu, theo theo cho tôi nên chỉ một bình sự. Ô chỉ tôi trở li cho lưu ước tao cho chê. Tôi nên xếp hệ lý cụ theo. Yo tế một tâm mong. Ê con nó xa tìa cụ chính nhỏ, có lưu theo nó. Cụ mà là lưu co. Không một giọt nữ. Ước lo hô đắp bò mò.
Nrhiav smirked.
Tê ráo.
She then turned to Lee.
Lee, mà nhớ có mò, của tụi phong như rong.
Mùa rong có Nrhiav, chỉ cho Pheej Hmoo thế của nó mò.
Thinking to himself.
Chơi tiền lo của những yo ba của tao có, ba của tao nè. Nrhiav, giờ hai tia, hậu có Lucia có những chữ sai Pheej Hmoo, lo tao có bảo hai tia, chơi tiền lo của sai có.
Lee grabbed Pheej Hmoo's shoulder. Pheej Hmoo pointed to thumbs up. Golden particles slowly rose from beneath Nrhiav's feet. Her body gradually became transparent, and the light surrounded her until her entire figure transformed into countless shimmering feathers. A beautiful phoenix of crimson and gold emerged from the light, its wings stretched across the night sky. The phoenix circled above the 2 friends as though saying goodbye. Then, with one final cry, it disappeared beyond the clouds. An item dropped to the ground. Nrhiav's gold bells. Pheej Hmoo slowly walked over. He knelt down, carefully picking up the charm. He gently held them against his heart, looking toward the sunset sky. A single tear rolled down his face.
Mùa rong có, cứ từ mê nồng xó.
Police sirens wailed across downtown Sacramento, California. Flames burst through the windows of a high-rise construction site, sending thick black smoke into the evening sky. Firefighters rushed in and out of the collapsing structure, while paramedics prepared triage stations outside. Someone shouted from within the chaos.
Medic, we have a firefighter down over here.
Coming!
An EMT sprinted toward the scene carrying a trauma bag. The firefighter lay motionless beneath a twisted steel beam. Ashes covered his uniform. His oxygen mask had fallen away. The EMT immediately dropped to one knee, checking the firefighter's airway, breathing, and pulse.
Can I get another medic over here? His pulse is weak!
Another EMT rushed over. Together, they lifted the unconscious firefighter onto a stretcher. As they loaded him into the ambulance, one of the paramedics called out,
Does anyone have an ID?
The EMT quickly searched through the firefighter's turnout coat and found a leather wallet.
Firefighter Lee Zhong, age 28, height 5'9", Sacramento Fire Department. Hurry, pulse is weak. Nearest hospital is Sutter Health.
Within minutes, they arrived at Sutter Health Hospital. The nurses rushed the stretcher through the emergency entrance. The EMT watched as the trauma team disappeared behind the operating room doors. Later that night, finally, the emergency department had grown quieter. The EMT walked toward the nurse's station carrying paperwork.
Hi, I was the EMT who dropped off the firefighter earlier. I needed to get some paperwork done.
The nurse standing behind the desk nodded while flipping through a stack of patient charts.
Oh, yes?
She turned around and time stopped. Pheej Hmoo froze. She then waved a hand in front of his face.
Sir?
Pheej Hmoo blinked. His ears grew warm with embarrassment.
Hello.
His eyes unconsciously drifted toward her RN badge.
Chilia.
His heart skipped. She glanced down at her own name tag and smiled.
Hello? Yes, I am the charge nurse, Ntshiab.
Chilia.
The nurse smiled politely.
Có yêu muốn thế lọ? Okay, here's the paperwork.
Kuhua Pheej Hmoo.
Extending his arms.
Okay, Pheej Hmoo.
She shook his hand. They both couldn't explain it. It was just a name. Someone they both had never met before, yet for some reason it felt like coming home. For the months to come, Pheej Hmoo continued courting the beautiful nurse Ntshiab. Lunch dates became late-night dinners. Dinners become home-cooked meals, enjoying each other's company. And for the first time in 10 lifetimes, something borrowed, something blue, something beautiful became anew. 2 years later.
Pheej Hmoo, my water just broke.
Pheej Hmoo's eyes widened. He immediately pressed the emergency button.
Doctor! Doctor!
The delivery team rushed into the room.
Big breath, Mama. You got this. Again. Push. Push.
He gently brushed the damp strands of hair from her forehead before wiping away the beads of sweat.
Babe, you're doing great.
Ntshiab squeezed his hand tightly. The room became filled with hurried voices, medical instruments, footsteps, and monitors, but slowly the voices became distant, almost as though time itself had stopped. Then the delivery room door slowly opened by itself. A warm breeze drifted inside. Standing quietly in the doorway was Nkauj Nag, dressed in an elegant white dress. Her long black hair flowed gently around her. There was no anger, no hatred, only peace. Pheej Hmoo's eyes widened.
Nah.
For as long as he could remember as a child, he had only seen her in his dreams, remembering the promise over and over again. And now she smiled exactly as he remembered. Nkauj Nag slowly walked toward the hospital bed, stopping beside Ntshiab. She gently reached out her hand, resting it softly against Ntshiab's stomach. Golden light spread beneath her fingertips. Nkauj Nag looked up at Pheej Hmoo. Their eyes met one final time. This time, there was no resentment, only gratitude. She smiled softly as if saying hello. Then, her body dissolved into countless golden particles. The light drifted gently into Ntshiab's womb. At that very instant, a baby's cry filled the room. The sound of the hospital suddenly returned.
Congratulations, Mama. It's a beautiful baby girl.
The nurse carefully wrapped the newborn in a warm blanket before placing her into Ntshiab's arms. Ntshiab smiled through her tears.
Nè, cái miếng thai.
Pheej Hmoo slowly knelt beside the bed. His eyes never left the tiny face looking back. The baby opened her eyes. She smiled, a tiny smile, so familiar that it made his heart ache. Pheej Hmoo gently touched her tiny hand. The newborn wrapped her tiny fingers around his thumb, and as he remembers Gona's love and laughter.
Dì tụi mình chạy Shôn nà
Thank you so much for following us on this incredible journey through Threads of Fate. After everything that we've been through together, you're probably feeling all kinds of emotions, and you may still have a few questions left unanswered. Before we officially say goodbye to Threads of Fate, we have a special Q&A with the cast to help wrap up the series and hopefully give you a little bit more closure to the story. Please do join us for the next video. I hope to see you all there. The link will be in the description.